The sterile beep of machines pierced my skull like a drill, and I jolted awake, tasting blood and rust on my tongue. A man's voice, smooth as aged whiskey but edged with panic, cut through the fog. "Christian, oh God, Christian. Don't you dare leave me again." His hand gripped mine, warm and calloused in a way that didn't match the diamond ring, suddenly weighing down my finger like a shackle forged in hell. I blinked against the harsh fluorescent lights of what had to be a hospital room, smelling of antiseptic and wilted lilies, and stared at the stranger leaning over me. His face was all sharp angles and shadowed stubble, eyes like storm clouds ready to break. But I knew those eyes. Jonathan Hale, the golden boy from Lincoln High, the one who'd stolen every trophy, every glance, every goddamn breath from me back in our senior year of 2012. The rival who'd made my teenage life a battlefield. And now, he was calling me by my name like it was a prayer, his thumb tracing circles on my knuckles as if we'd been lovers for decades. "What the, Jonathan?" My voice cracked, raw from disuse, and I yanked my hand back, the foreline tugging painfully at my arm. My head throbbed like I'd been hit by a freight train, fragments of memory flickering. Screeching tires on a rain-slicked Brooklyn bridge, the jolt of impact, then nothing. Black void. How long had I been out? Days? Weeks? He straightened, his broad shoulders tensing under a crisp white dress shirt rolled to the elbows. CO casual, I guessed, from the way the fabric strained against muscles honed by something fancier than our old gym class push-up wars. "You're awake. Finally." Relief flooded his features, softening the lines etched thereby. "What? Worry? Age?" He looked older than 29, like the years had carved him into something unbreakable yet brittle. "The doctors said it could be touch and go. Concussion, internal bruising. But you're tough, Chris. Always have been. Chris. Only my mom called me that, and she was gone, cancer, 3 years back. Jonathan never had. Back in high school, it was always Westbrook, spat like a curse during debate club showdowns, or a smirk across the locker room after swim practice. We'd been oil and fire. Me, the scrappy kid from the wrong side of Philly transplanted to suburban Jersey, fighting for every A on scholarship. Him, the trust fund prince with a future brighter than the Manhattan skyline we both dreamed of escaping to. Rivals in everything, grades, sports, even who could charm the cute barista at the corner cafe. But there'd been undercurrents, stolen glances in the showers that lingered too long, a brush of hands during a heated argument that left us both flushed and silent. Nothing spoken, nothing real, or so I'd thought. "Get away from me?" I rasped, shoving myself up on elbows that felt like jelly. The room spun, monitors beeping faster. "What the hell is this? Why are you here?" And I thrust out my left hand, the gold band glinting accusingly. "What the fuck is this?" Jonathan's face crumpled, just for a second, before he schooled it into that boardroom mask I'd seen in alumni newsletters. Hale Enterprises, tech startup turned empire, Forbes 30 under 30. "It's our wedding ring, Christian. We've been married for 2 years. You don't remember. Married. To him." The word hit like another crash, splintering the fog in my brain. I laughed, a bitter bark that turned into a cough. "Bullshit. Last I checked, you were dating that cheerleader, what's her name, and I was hustling tables at the diner to pay for community college. We hated each other. We didn't hate each other." His voice dropped, low and fierce, like he was confessing a sin. "Not really, and that was 12 years ago. So much has changed." He reached for the call button, but I slapped his hand away. "Don't. Just explain. Now." My heart hammered, a wild thing caged in ribs that ached from the wreck. Outside the window, the Jersey Turnpike stretched gray under sodium lights. Home, or what passed for it after Mom died and I fled west for a fresh start. But this was a nightmare scripted by some sadistic god with a grudge against happy endings. He exhaled, sinking into the vinyl chair beside the bed, elbows on knees, fingers steepled like he was pitching a merger. "Okay, from the beginning. After high school, you vanished, poof, like you'd never existed. I looked for you, called the old house, drove by that shitty apartment you rented senior year. Nothing. I threw myself into Yale, then the startup grind. Built Hale from a garage app into this. He gestured vaguely at the world beyond the glass, the glittering promise of America that had always favored guys like him. But I never forgot you. That fire in debate club, the way you'd argue circles around anyone. Or how you'd sneak into the bleachers after practice, pretending to study but really just watching. Watching. The word hung heavy, stirring something buried. Memories of towel-dried hair, steam-cloaked mirrors, the electric hum when our eyes met across the pool deck. I chalked it up to rivalry adrenaline, the thrill of matching him blow for blow. But now, with his gaze locked on mine, raw and unguarded, it felt like a lie I'd told myself to survive. Then, 5 years ago, he continued, voice steadying, I was in San Francisco for a conference, Tech Week, all schmoozing and TED Talks. I ducked into this dive bar off Market Street for a breather, neon signs flickering, jukebox blaring Springsteen. And there you were, behind the bar, slinging IPAs with that same smirk, tattoos snaking up your forearms like war paint. Tattoos. I glanced down. Yeah, the raven on my wrist, inked after Mom's funeral for the way she'd always said we'd fly free. I moved out west after. Everything. Needed distance. He nodded, eyes tracing the ink like it was a map to lost time. You recognized me first. Said something snarky about how I'd finally grown into my ego. We talked, really talked, for the first time. Not rivals, not enemies. Just two guys nursing regrets over cheap whiskey. You were writing, I remember. Short stories, gritty stuff about broken homes and big dreams. Said you were one bad review from quitting. The pieces slotted in, hazy but real. The bar's sticky counter, his laugh when I roasted his tie, the spark that jumped when our knees bumped under the table. We'd exchanged numbers, casual as anything. Texts turned to calls, calls to visits, him flying out for weekends, me crashing his Manhattan penthouse. It had felt easy, electric, like we'd been orbiting each other all along. 3 months in, I told you, he said softly. About me. The guys in college, the hookups I buried under frat parties and board meetings. You didn't flinch. Said you'd known since that time in the locker room when I accidentally grabbed your ass during a towel snap fight. A ghost of a smile tugged his lips. We were good, Chris. Real. Moved in together after a year, your place in Brooklyn, overlooking the East River. You quit bartending, started submitting your work. I proposed on the bridge at sunset, with that stupid class ring from high school as a placeholder till I could get something better. The bridge. My gut twisted, the same one I'd wiped out on, hydroplaning in a storm, chasing a deadline for a lit mag that never came. And I said yes? With that laugh of yours, the one that sounds like thunder. We got married in City Hall. Just us and a justice of the peace who thought we were straight bros pranking him. Vows in the rain, because why not? It was perfect. Perfect. The word soured in my mouth. Monitors beeped insistently now, nurses bustling in at his belated button push, checking vitals and murmuring about amnesia. Retrograde type, common with head trauma. Give it time, one said, patting my shoulder. Pieces will come back. But as they fussed, Jonathan hovered, his presence a gravitational pull I couldn't escape. When they left, promising scans in the morning, he pulled a chair closer, unfolding a blanket over my legs like it was ritual. I thought I'd lost you, he whispered, voice cracking. The cops called me from your wallet, emergency contact. I drove through that storm like a madman. Got here just as they wheeled you in. Emergency contact. Husband. The ring burned colder now, a counterfeit weight. This can't be right. Feels like a fever dream. Show me proof. He fished his phone from his pocket, unlocked it with a scan. Wallpaper of us on a Cape Cod beach, arms slung around each other, wind-tousled and grinning like idiots. Scroll further. Wedding selfie, blurry but blissful. Anniversary dinner at that Italian joint in Little Italy, candlelight catching the band on my finger. Hospital visits for his ulcer last winter, me force-feeding him broth with a glare that screamed love. Proof piled like evidence in a trial I wasn't ready to judge. Yet doubt gnawed, why couldn't I feel it? The warmth, the history. Instead, There was this chasm, high school ghosts whispering betrayal. Had he rewritten our story to trap me? Or was I the villain, erasing the one good thing I'd clawed from life's wreckage? That night, as rain lashed the window like accusations, he dozed in the chair, head tipped back, tie loosened. I watched him, the rise and fall of his chest syncing with the monitor's rhythm. Rival. Husband. Stranger. In the dim glow, he looked vulnerable, the CEO armor stripped to a man who'd waited 12 years for a second chance. My chest ached. Not from bruises, but something deeper, a fracture in the soul. Morning brought coffee, black, 2 sugars just how I liked it, and a stack of my manuscripts dog-eared on the tray. Your latest, he said. The one about the boxer and the promoter. Editors are circling. I flipped it open, recognizing my scrawl. In the ring of regret, every punch lands twice. Jonathan's notes in the margins, sharp, encouraging, the kind that pushed without bruising. You get me? The last one read. Maybe he did. Maybe we did. But as the doctor wheeled in for tests, promising fragments would resurface, I wondered, what if the accident hadn't just stolen my memory? What if it had exposed the lie we'd both lived? 2 boys too scared to name the fire between us, now men chained by it. Discharge came 3 days later, a blur of paperwork and pitying smiles. Jonathan handled it all, signing forms with a flourish, tipping the orderly like it was a Michelin-starred meal. Home? He asked, keys to his sleek Audi jangling like a lifeline. Home. The word echoed hollow. My apartment, our apartment, loomed in my mind's eye from photos. Exposed brick in Dumbo, bookshelves groaning under hardcovers, a king bed with sheets that smelled of his cologne, sandalwood and ambition. But stepping into it felt like trespassing on someone else's life. The door clicked open to sunlight slanting through floor-to-ceiling windows, the East River glittering below like fool's gold. Welcome back, he murmured, arm brushing mine as he guided me inside. No wheelchair, stubborn as ever, I'd refused. But my legs wobbled, betraying the strength I remembered from hauling kegs and pounding pavement. He tidied, fridge stocked with my favorites. Craft IPAs, fresh bagels, that Godawful kale smoothie mix he pretended to hate. A vase of peonies on the counter, pink and defiant, my mom's favorite. Therapy starts tomorrow, he said, easing me onto the couch. Neurologist plus a shrink for the amnesia. We'll get through this. We. The pronoun grated, intimate as a scar. I sank into the cushions, leather soft from years of our wait, and pulled out my phone. Passcode his birthday because, of course. Texts from friends. Heard about the crash, Jonathan's a wreck. Call when you're up. Emails from agents. Loved the revisions, Hale's influence shines through. Even a group chat labeled, the in-laws. His parents' passive-aggressive invites to Hampton's weekends. It was real. Undeniable. Yet the rift yawned wider, fed by flashes. High school Jonathan, crowing victory after stealing valedictorian by a decimal point. His hand on my shoulder, a taunt that lingered like heat. Had that been flirtation in disguise? Or was I projecting, desperate for meaning in the void? That evening he cooked, steak rare with asparagus he charred because I always teased him about it. We ate on the balcony, city hum below, fairies cutting wakes like silver knives. Tell me something I forgot, I said, fork pausing. A story. Make me remember. He leaned back, wineglass stem twirling between fingers that knew boardrooms and my skin equally. Our first real fight. 6 months in, you accused me of ghosting, buried in a funding round. Missed your reading at that indie bookstore in Williamsburg. I showed up late, reeking of venture capital schmooze, and you read anyway, voice like gravel over glass. Afterward, in the alley behind the shop, you shoved me against the brick wall. Don't make me chase you, Hale, you said, then kissed me, hard, like you were claiming territory. The image bloomed. Rain-slick alley, his tie askew, my heart thundering not from anger but hunger. And I kissed back, said I'd burn the world for you. Cliché, but true. His eyes held mine, dark with the weight of unspoken fears. We've had more fights since. About my hours, your deadlines. But we always end up here, talking it out stronger. Stronger. I wanted to believe it. But as night fell, shadows pooling like doubts, I slipped into the bedroom alone. He protested, "I'll take the couch." But I needed space, air not laced with his scent. Sheets cool against fevered skin, I scrolled old photos. Vegas weekend, drunk on margaritas and matching tattoos. A compass for him, needle for me. Christmas in the Berkshires, snowed in with his sister's labradoodle. That bridge proposal, ring box open, his knees in the gravel as traffic honked indifference. Tears came unbidden, hot tracks down temples. Not from loss but terror. What if I never felt it again? What if this man, who'd bridged our chasm, was left loving a ghost? Morning therapy was a sterile office in Midtown. Dr. Ellis, a no-nonsense woman with wire rims and a notepad that didn't flinch. "Amnesia isn't erasure," she said. After Jonathan dropped me off with a kiss to the temple, I leaned into despite myself. "It's a lock. We'll find the key." Sessions blurred. Hypnosis coaxing half-memories. His hand in mine at a gala, whispering filthy jokes about stuffed shirts. Lazy Sundays in bed, debating plot twists over takeout pho. Progress, she called it. But evenings home brought tension. Jonathan tiptoeing like I was fragile china. His touches hesitant where once they'd been sure. 2 weeks in, the crack widened. I found the box in his closet, while hunting a sweater, innocent enough, tucked behind suits. Letters, yellowed, postmarked Philly 2013. My handwriting. "Jonathan, you think you're the only one who lost? I waited for you to say something, anything, after that last swim meet. But you walked away. Don't write back. See. More, saw your Yale acceptance. Proud, asshole. Wish it was mine." Then, angrier, heard you're dating her. Good luck with normal. He kept them all, tied with twine like relics. Betrayal surged, not his but mine. I'd run, built walls of sarcasm and solitude, punishing him for silences we both owned. When he found me there, box open on the floor, his face paled. "You read them. All of it." I stood, fists clenched. "You knew, back then, and you let me go." I was scared, Chris. 17, closeted in a house of expectations. Dad's law firm, Mom's garden parties. Coming out meant combustion. He stepped closer, voice breaking. I wrote back, every time. Burned them before mailing, coward that I was. By the time I manned up, you were gone. The air thickened, accusations unspoken. "So what? You think marrying me fixes it? Erases the years I scraped by alone?" "No." He cupped my face, thumbs brushing tears I hadn't noticed. "But loving you does. Every day since that bar. I called you husband not to trap you, but because you saved me. From the grind, the emptiness. You're my compass, Christian. Always were." I shattered then, collapsing into him, sobs racking as memories flooded. The proposal rain, vows exchanged like lifelines. Hospital scare when his deal tanked, me holding him through the night. It crashed back. The love, fierce and flawed, a tapestry woven from rivalry's threads. We clung there, closet a confessional, until the storm passed. "Forgive me," he whispered. "Only if you forgive yourself." I kissed him, soft, reclaiming what amnesia stole. Not perfect, but ours human, scarred, enduring. Months later, my novel hit shelves. Rivals Reckoning, a dedication. To Jay, from the ring to the rope, you pulled me through. Book tour in Philly, him beside me at signings, hand in mine unashamed. The bridge, we crossed it together one stormy eve. Rings glinting like promises renewed. America stretched before us, flawed, vast, unyielding. But in each other's orbit we were home. Not every story ends in fireworks. Some simmer, steady as the river below, carrying us forward. Life post-amnesia wasn't a straight shot to normalcy. It meandered like the Hudson on a hung-over morning, full of unexpected eddies and debris from the undertow. Dr. Ellis called it reintegration, a fancy term for fumbling through days where Jonathan's smile sparked flickers. Half joy, half phantom limb. I'd catch myself mid-conversation, words drying up as a memory slotted home. The way he'd burn toast every Saturday, cursing like a sailor while I laughed over coffee. Or how, during a blackout last summer, we'd lit candles and slow danced to Coltrane on his phone, bodies sinking like they'd never forgotten. But the gaps lingered, stubborn as weeds in cracked concrete. Nights, I'd wake gasping, convinced I was back in that Philly basement apartment. Rain leaking through the ceiling, dreams tangled with high school echoes. Jonathan's locker slam, his parting shot in the hall. Better luck next time, Westbrook. If there is one. It fueled arguments, small at first, past the salt, becoming, why do you always hover? Escalating to, because I almost lost you. Damn it. He took it in stride, that CEO poised a shield, but I saw the cracks. Late nights at the office stretching longer, calls with investors laced with distraction. Hale Enterprises needs me, he'd say, loosening his tie in the foyer mirror, reflection weary. I nodded, burying resentment in my laptop, pounding out revisions for the agent who'd finally bitten. Rivals was shaping up, a raw gut punch of a tale. Two boys sparring in the shadows of expectation, one fleeing west, the other building empires on hollow ground. Catharsis or confession, both probably. One crisp October afternoon, 3 months post-crash, the real fracture hit. I was at a coffee shop in Soho, neutral ground for a writing meetup, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, Philly area code. Christian Westbrook? This is Detective Ruiz, PPD. Got a cold case reopening, your mom's old neighborhood. Might jog something for you. Mom. The name alone twisted the knife. Her death had been quiet. Stage 4 creeping like fog. No dramatics. Just a hospice bed and her hand in mine. Whispering, fly, baby, don't look back. I'd sold everything, bolted to the coast, vowing never to return. But curiosity, that old devil, hooked me. What case? Arson. String of 'em back in '09, targeted queer kid spots, the arcade, that underground club on South Street. Your mom reported suspicious activity near her shop. Never connected dots till now with new forensics. Queer kids. The words landed like embers. Mom's bookstore had been a haven. Tucked in Queen Village, shelves bent under dog-eared Ginsberg and Baldwin. A rainbow flag fluttering defiant. I'd come out to her at 15, tear-streaked over hot cocoa. She'd hugged me fierce, said, love's the only fire that doesn't burn. But the arsons? Whispers of hate. Flyers from church groups decrying sodomite dens. We'd laughed it off, boarded windows after the first scare. Then she got sick and I buried it deep. Send what you have, I told Ruiz, pulse thundering. Jonathan picked me up later, brow furrowed at my silence. Bad meetup. Worse. Ghosts. Over dinner, takeout tie because neither of us cooked when raw I spilled it. His fork paused mid-air, eyes sharpening like in a negotiation. Philly PD thinks it's linked to you? Us? Not directly, but Mom's report. She saw vans idling, men with clipboards. Church types, maybe. I pushed rice around my plate. Appetite fled. Feels like unfinished business. I need to go back. He set his chopsticks down, deliberate. We go back. Together. It was settled, then a weekend drive, his Audi eating miles like regret. The turnpike blurred Jersey sprawl into Pennsylvania farmlands. Radio humming indie folk that spoke of lost roads. Jonathan drove, one hand on the wheel, the other tracing my knee absent-mindedly. A habit reborn in fragments, comforting now. Tell me about her, he said when silence thickened. Your mom. I wish I'd met her. She'd have grilled you like a suspect. I smiled faint, window cool against my temple. Called you that Hale boy who broke my son's heart. But she'd have seen it, the good under the gloss. Baked you snickerdoodles. Lectured on privilege. He chuckled low. I'd have deserved it. Back then I was all surface. Dad's shadow, Yale's puppet. Didn't know how to want something real till you. Philly greeted us gray and gritty. Skyline jagged against autumn clouds. Mom's old street hadn't changed. Row houses huddled like sentinels. Stoops chipped but proud. The bookstore stood gutted. A laundromat now, neon open sign mocking the void. I stood there, wind whipping my jacket, Jonathan's arm a steady anchor at my waist. Ruiz met us at the precinct, a compact woman with salt-streaked hair and a handshake like iron. Files splayed across scarred oak. Photos of charred facades, witness statements yellowed with age. Margaret Westbrook's tip was gold. Plate on that van traced to a shell corp, front for Reverend Harlan's congregation. Fire and brimstone type, preached purification from his megachurch pulpit. We got a warrant last month. Found accelerant receipts in his attic. Harlan. The name slithered cold. I'd seen him once. Billboard sermon on I-95. Face twisted in righteous fury. Turn or burn. Mom had snorted, taped it over with Audre Lorde quotes. Hate's just fear in a cheap suit, she'd say. Any arrests? Jonathan asked, voice edged with the boardroom steel that closed billion-dollar deals. Soon. DA's building airtight. But we need victim statements. Folks like you who lived it. Ruiz me. You were what, 17? Old enough to remember. More than remember. The arcade fire. Me and my first boyfriend, Tim, sneaking sodas between pinball rounds. Flames licking the prize counter. Us bolting as sirens wailed. Tim ghosted after, scared straight by his folks. I'd buried it like so many shards. I'll do it, I said, throat tight. Jonathan squeezed my hand. Silent support. That night, we crashed at a boutique hotel in Old City. Cobblestone charm masking the city's underbelly. Dinner at a gastropub, craft beers foaming amber, talk turning tentative. You okay? He asked, foam mustache quirking his lip. Honest? Rattled. Feels like the past is clawing back. I clinked my pint to his. But having you here grounds me. His gaze softened. That storm cloud blue holding secrets. Always will. That's the vow, remember? In sickness, amnesia, arson scandals. Laughter bubbled, easing the knot. Back in the room, king bed overlooking Liberty Bell glow, we undressed slow. Not urgent, but reverent, mapping scars like cartographers. His fingers traced the crash bruises fading purple on my ribs. Mine followed the faint line on his jaw from a childhood fall he'd never detailed. No rush to reclaim, just presence. Breaths mingling, bodies aligning in the quiet dance of rediscovery. Sleep came fitful, dreams of fire and bridges merging. Woke to Jonathan's phone buzzing, 3 a.m., screen harsh. He silenced it quick, but not before I glimpsed. Dad. Meeting tomorrow critical. Don't bail again. Work, I murmured, propping on elbow. He sighed, rolling to face me, moonlight silvering his hair. Yeah. Expansion pitch Silicon Valley VCs. But it'll wait. Didn't. Morning brought Ruiz's follow-up, statement recorded, details spilling like confession. The fear post-fire, Mom's arm around me as we watched news vans swarm. The isolation that propelled me west, chasing horizons free of smoke. Jonathan sat sentinel, hand over mine, but his foot tapped erratic under the table. Rolex glinting distraction. By noon, we were en route home, Philly shrinking rearview. That meeting, I ventured, Delaware Memorial thumping beneath tires. Go, if it's big. He glanced over, grip tightening on wheel. It's always big. But you. Need you whole, not half haunted by what-ifs. Covered his hand. Go conquer. All right. He dropped me at the apartment, kiss lingering like apology. Call if the ghosts get loud. They did, that evening, page locked, cursor blinking accusation. I paced the loft, river mocking my stasis, when the intercom buzzed. Delivery. Manila envelope, no return address. Inside, printouts, anonymous, Hale Enterprises letterhead. Emails, internal, Jonathan's signature on layoffs, dozens in creative divisions. Streamline for growth, the memo read. Sacrifices necessary. My stomach plummeted. My novel, had been shopped through his contacts, doors opened by his name. But this? Cutting jobs to fund pet projects, including a personal literary initiative. Me, our life, built on his empire's bones. Betrayal bloomed, hot and hybrid, not just professional but personal. Had he married ambition's shadow, not me? Or worse, used me as its alibi? When he walked in at midnight, suit rumpled, triumph in his stride. They bit Chris full funding. I thrust the pages at him. Explain. His face drained, victory curdling. Where? Doesn't matter. Is this you? Gutting lives for us. He sank to the couch, head in hands. It's business. Ugly, yeah. But what? You preach humanism. Drag me to galas for social good. Then sign off on this. Voice rose, cracking. Am I your redemption prop? The gay husband softening the edges. No. He surged up, eyes wild. You're the reason I push. For a world where we don't have to hide. Where stories like yours thrive. Those cuts. They hurt. Every one. But without growth, hail folds, and the foundations we fund. The queer youth centers, the lit programs, gone. Truth, laced with justification. I saw it. The boy who'd burned letters now bartering souls to atone. And if I wasn't here, would you still? I'd be lost. He stepped close, voice raw. You make the empire mean something. But if it's poison to you, I'll burn it. Walk away. The offer hung, seismic. Empire for love, a rival's gambit, turned vow. I deflated, papers crumpling between us. Don't. Just be honest. From now on. Always. His arms enveloped, tentative, then sure. We stood there, river whispering below, mending fractures with fragile thread. But seeds of doubt, once sown, root deep. The arson's haunted press releases. Harlan's face splashed tabloids, arraigned with froth-mouthed denial. My statement leaked. Son of victim speaks out. Thrusting us into spotlights we'd courted but never craved. Protests outside Hale HQ. Pickets decrying corporate complicity in past silences. Jonathan fielded calls, poise fraying, while I drafted op-eds, from ashes to allies, channeling mom's fire. Climax brewed that December, gala night, Met steps red-carpeted, chandeliers dripping opulence. Jonathan in tux, devastating. Me in velvet blazer, tattoos peeking defiant. Flashbulbs popped like gunfire as we ascended, his hand firm at my back. Breathe, he murmured. We've got this. Inside, champagne flutes and air kisses masked the undercurrent. Whispers about the scandal. Eyes lingering on us. America's darlings or deviants. Harlan's lawyers had subpoenaed my emails, dredging high school dirt, old forum posts, anonymous rants against zealots. Leverage, Jonathan growled over canapes. They'll drop it. But they didn't. Midway through speeches, him on stage, voice resonant about inclusive innovation. My phone vibrated. Ruiz Harlan's ranting. Names you, Hale. Says your union proves the corruption he fought. Chaos erupted. Phones buzzed frenzy. Security herded us to a side room as shouts echoed. Protesters breaching velvet ropes, signs thrusting. Hale hides hate. Jonathan's face ashen, dialing crisis PR, but I saw the toll. The boy who'd fled his father's expectations, now cornered by history's echo. Press conference, I said, decision crystallizing. Tomorrow. Full truth. He searched my eyes, fear mingling pride. You sure? For Mom. For us. Dawn brought haggard prep, coffee IVs, scripts shredded and rewritten. The plaza outside Hale Tower swarmed, cameras hungry. Jonathan spoke first, steady. My husband and I stand against hate, past and present. Hale commits $10 million to anti-extremism initiatives, starting with Philly's recovery funds. Then me, voice amplified by ghosts. I lost my mother to illness, but her legacy burned brighter than any fire. Love isn't corruption. It's the spark that rebuilds. Questions flew, barbs on layoffs, probes on privilege, but we held, hands clasped visible on the podium. Harlan's case crumbled weeks later, evidence airtight. Our statement, a footnote in victory. Yet victory's aftertaste is ash. That night, in the loft's hush, Jonathan poured scotch, glasses clinking like toasts to survival. You were magnificent, he said, forehead to mine. So were you. Pause. Heavy. But the Empire, it's devouring you. He nodded, weary. Knew it would someday. Stepping back. Board vote next month. Relief flooded, mingled with ache. And us? Us is the Empire now.
Kish soft, sealing pacts unspoken.
Spring thawed the scars. My book launched to quiet acclaim. Readings in indie shops, Jonathan in the front row, eyes shining. We weekend in the Poconos, hiking trails Mom would have loved. His hand in mine as leaves unfurled green promise. Not flawless, arguments flared over small stakes. Memories still glitched like old film. But in the quiet, we'd curl on the couch, his head on my chest, heartbeat a metronome to our rhythm. Rivals no more, but partners. Forged in crash and confession, loving through the human mess. America's vast, they say, room for every story. Ours? A bridge rebuilt, one span at a time. Summer hit like a fever dream, humid and unrelenting. The kind that turns Manhattan into a pressure cooker where secrets stew and erupt. Jonathan's board vote passed clean. Strategic transition. The press release spun it, with him retaining creative oversight while a suit named Ellis, no relation to my doc, helmed the day-to-day. Liberation. He called it over rooftop margaritas. City sprawl at our feet like a conquered map. I clinked my glass, lime tart on tongue, but watched the lines deepen around his eyes. Freedom's weight is heavier than chains, sometimes. My book tour kicked off proper then. Cross-country jaunt. Indie stops from Brooklyn to Berkeley. Rivals shelved beside Ta-Nehisi Coates and Ocean Vuong. Readings drew crowds. Queer kids with dog-eared copies, wide-eyed at the signing table. Grizzled vets nodding at the Philly Fire chapters. Heal something? One murmured, hugging the paperback like talisman. Jonathan tagged along for the East Coast legs, incognito in ball caps and tees that strained over his frame, playing roadie, lugging boxes, charming baristas, his laugh a low rumble that grounded me when stage fright nipped. But distance bred distance. West Coast solo, hotel nights blurred. Seattle's drizzle mirroring inner fog, Portland's hipster haunts echoing isolation. Texts from him pinged constant. Killed a pitch today. Miss your roast. Heart emojis, voice notes husky with fatigue. I replied in kind, but the void whispered. Is this enough? Fame's a fickle lover. It amplifies doubts, turns every unanswered call into abandonment. San Francisco marked the turn. Tour rap party at a Castro bar. Neon pride flags fluttering. Drag queens holding court over Cosmos. I was 3 whiskeys in, regaling a cluster of writers with the crash tale. Sanitized, no amnesia dramatics. When a face from the ether materialized. Tyler Grant, Jonathan's Yale roommate, all ivy polish and predatory grin. Christian Westbrook, the mystery man who tamed Hale. He clapped my shoulder, breath boozy. Heard you two are the power couple now. Congrats on the ink. John's been crowing since galley proofs. We chatted surface stuff, startup war stories, his venture in fintech sucking souls for profit. But undercurrents swirled. Sidelong glances, compliments laced double. John's always had a type fierce, unpolished. You fit like glove. Hand lingered on my arm, thumb brushing deliberate. I extricated polite, but unease fermented. Back in the hotel, buzzkilled, I scrolled old emails. Jonathan's, hacked via shared cloud, trust's double edge. Buried thread, 2015 Tyler SF trip? Need distraction. Sees ghosting vibes. Reply, on it, bro wings and whiskey my treat. Ghosting? We'd been solid then. My fault, deadlines devouring weekends, his travels mirroring. But the thread bloomed. Late night bars, platonic brunches, a photo Tyler tagged. Jonathan shirtless on a yacht, arms around him and another. Caption. Boys escape. No regrets. Jealousy coiled, irrational but ironclad. Not cheating, Jonathan's fidelity was bedrock, proven in hospital vigils and midnight confessions. But neglect, the Empire's toll, pre-crash, when I'd felt like appendage to his ascent. Amnesia had reset the board, but old scores tallied silent. Flight home was turbulence literal and not, landing in LaGuardia storm-lashed. Jonathan waited curbside, umbrella blooming black, grin faltering at my stiffness. Rough tour? You look like you wrestled a thesaurus. Tyler says hi. Neutral, but the barb landed. His brow quirked, key fob chirping the Audi alive. Grant? Saw his Insta, yacht boy still yachting. What did he spin? Nothing. Just reminded me of before. Rain-sheeted windshield as we merged into chaos. When you needed distractions. Silence stretched, wipers thwacking accusation. That old? Chris, we were kids, 23, drowning in ambition. I was an ass, yeah. Flirted with fire, but never jumped. You were the one even then. Was I? Voice pitched high, betraying. Or convenient anchor when the boat rocked? He pulled over sharp, hazard lights pulsing orange. Stop. This isn't you, the doubt, the digging. It's the crash, the gaps. But I'm here, every fucking day, proving it. And if I wasn't broken, would you still choose the mess? Eyes locked, thunder rumbling distant. I'd choose you whole or shattered, because the mess is us. Rival sparks, high school barbs, all of it forged this. Hand extended, palm up. I took it, pulse sinking, storm breaking outside as one brewed within. Reconciliation simmered slow, therapy double sessions, Dr. Ellis mediating with charts of attachment wounds. Jonathan opened ledgers, literal, his therapist's homework, detailing pre-crash burnout, how he'd canceled Tokyo for my reading, outsourced deals to steal weekends. You weren't anchor, he admitted, voice gravel. You were air. I countered with truths. The isolation west, post-Philly, when his silence after graduation felt like rejection's final cut. Rivalry masked it. Hate's easier than hope. Healing's unglamorous. Date nights at hole-in-the-wall to Carius. No phones. Hikes in the Palisades, where cell service died and words flowed freer. Fall deepened, leaves crimson pyres, and we burned effigies. Old emails printed and torched in a fire pit. Tyler's yacht pick singed to ash. But life's no-tidy arc. November brought Harlan's trial. Philly courtroom televised. His defense a circus of scripture and scapegoats. We watched from the loft, takeout cooling untouched. He'll walk, Jonathan muttered. Remote gripped, white-knuckled. Money buys pulpits. He didn't. My testimony, remote via video, tipped scales, details of mom's fear, the flag she'd sewn herself, defiant stitch by stitch. Jury deliberated 2 days. Verdict. Guilty, 20 years. News rippled. Hate preacher falls. Queer son's voice echoes.
Vindication tasted bittersweet, momes ghost appeased, buscarecht permanent.
Jonathan pulled strings for a memorial. Plaque at the old bookstore site, unveiling small, us and a dozen locals under winter sun. To Margaret, it read, stories endure. I traced the letters, wind off the Schuylkill sharp, his arm around me solid. She's proud, he whispered. Of us? Yeah. Holiday season glittered forced. His family's Hamptons manse, tree towering with heirloom ornaments, siblings ribbing over eggnog. His dad, silver fox in cashmere, cornered me post-dinner. Heard about the book. Raw stuff. John says you're the heart of it. Mutual, I replied, scotch warming palm. But under twinkling lights, old tensions simmered. Hale Senior's sidelong glances. Mom's homilies on traditional values, veiled in pleasantries. Jonathan deflected masterfully, toasting to chosen families. But I caught his jaw clench, the boy resurfacing. New Year's Eve, back in the city. Ball dropped from our balcony, champagne popping as confetti rained metallic. Resolution? He asked, arms caging me against railing, midnight tolling. No empires, just this. Kiss swallowed cheers below, promise sealed in frost-kissed air. Winter waned, but chill lingered. Early March, Jonathan's doc flagged irregularities. Ulcer flare from stress, tests probing deeper. Precaution. He waved it off, but I saw shadows under eyes, the way he'd pause mid-sentence, hand to chest. Check it, I insisted, voice brooking no boardroom bluff. Biopsy scheduled, results pending. Days dragged elastic, me writing sequel outlines, him buried in transition memos. Night before, we walked the bridge. Rebuilt section gleaming, railings cold under palms. Remember proposing here? I teased, wind whipping scarves. Like yesterday. He leaned in, breath ghosting ear. Said I'd cross worlds for you. You did. Pause, heart stutter. Whatever tomorrow brings. Us against it. Vow renewed. Stars pricking velvet sky. Diagnosis dropped like thermite. Lymphoma, early stage, treatable. Caught it quick. Oncologist assured. Charts of chemo cycles and remission odds. Jonathan joked through it. Bald CO chic, incoming. But I saw the flinch, the mirror stares post-shower, towel clutched like shield. Caregiving flipped scripts. Me measuring meds, him retching post-treatment. Our bed a fort of blankets and broth. Hate this, he groaned one dawn, for dripping saline. Weak. You're steel, I countered, spooning ginger tea. Rivals don't quit. Remission crept, scans whitening like hope. Summer circled back, humid embrace, and we escaped. Road trip south, mom's old Chevy, miraculously spared the crash. Purring coastal highways. Carolinas to Keys, motels with neon vacancies. Beaches unpeopled where we swam naked at dusk. Salt stinging scars. One twilight, conch shell to ear, ocean roar mimicking pulse. He turned solemn. If I hadn't found you. You did. Hand in sand. Fingers laced. High school hell to this? Worth every jab. Laughter mingled waves. Rivals reborn as roots. Yet humanism's core. No endings bow-wrapped. Fall brought book 2 contract, his full handover to Ellis. Hale rebranded legacy firm. Funds funneled to arts and advocacy. We bought a cabin upstate. Weekends escaping concrete for wood smoke and drafts by fireplace. Climax revisited, not crash or courtroom, but quiet fracture. Anniversary eve, 10 years from that bar reunion. Dinner at City Hall Bistro, rain sheeting windows like proposal night. Toasts to endurance, but his eyes held storm. There's something, he started, napkin twisting. Out with it. Offer from Google Chief Creative. Bay Area. Huge for us, your writing scene, fresh start. The pronoun fractured. And the cabin? The life here.
Portable.
But, Phillies pull the bridge. It's haunted you. Us. Doubt crested. Title. Running again? Like after high school. Hurt flashed. Raw. Building, not fleeing. With you. Words ward. Love's logistics. Roots versus reach. Need time, I said, check and signed. Home silent. Rain relentless. Sleepless, I paced. Memories montage. His hand in coma ward. Vows in downpour. Chemo curls shedding like autumn. Rival to husband, journey, not destination. Dawn broke gray. He was packed. Duffel by door. Go, I said, voice steady. Scout. I'll join if it's us, not escape. He nodded, kiss forehead soft. 2 weeks, then decide. Airport drop off, his silhouette swallowed by crowds. Alone, river mocking, I wrote. Fevered, final chapters of Rivals Coda. Lovers at crossroads, choosing not perfection, but presence. 2 weeks bled to 3. Calls bridged miles, his voice tinny with updates. SF sunsets, tech bros bluster. Missed the bridge, he'd admit. You. Home truths crystallized. America's sprawl held space for both. Roots in Philly, wings west. I flew out, unannounced, fog-shrouded tarmac. He waited, eyes questioning. Counteroffer, I said, duffel slung. Cabin base by coastal beats. Your empire. My pages. Shared empire. Relief cracked his mask, hug crushing. Done. Not tragic finale, but pivot, human, messy. We split time. SF winters for his role, New York summers for launches. Cabin anchor, mom's plaque pilgrimage annual rite. Years blurred. Book 3 bestseller. His TED Talk on queer innovation viral. Kids? Not biological but mentoring, fostering a runaway writer, then a trans teen from Harlan's fallout. Family chosen broad. Old age crept subtle, silver threading his hair, my tattoos fading watercolor. Bridge walks slower, hands gnarled but clasped. Rivals? He'd tease, cane tapping rhythm. Partners? I'd counter, kiss salt-tanged. Ending?
No curtain.
Just continuance. Love's long arc, bending toward light. Decades' turn brought silver linings and rust. Jonathan's Google gig evolved to advisory, freeing Fridays for our ritual SF ferry rides, wind-whipping gray waves. Him sketching app ideas on napkins while I read aloud from works in progress. Too earnest, he'd critique, eyebrow arched like high school debate. Dial up the grit. I'd swat him playful. Says the softie who cries at Pixar. Bicoastal blurred seamless. Cabin holidays with hearth fires and foster kids chaos. Our girl, Mia, now 16, penning zines that scorched. The boy, Leo, building robots from scrap, his quiet genius echoing my scrappy youth. Dads, he'd mumble, hugs awkward but earnest. Family, patchwork but ironclad. Philly pulls persisted. Annual unveilings expanded to festival. Mom's legacy, a lit hub funding scholarships for queer voices. Harlan died in custody. Obituary a footnote. His flock splintered, some repenting public, voices amplifying ours. Karma's slow roast. Jonathan quipped over pastrami at the old deli site. Now a cafe with rainbow awnings. But entropy nips. My knees creaked from bridge treks. His vision blurred boardroom fine print. Doc visits tandem, routine screens, reassurances laced caution. Age is the real rival. I joke. Masking the mirror's betrayal. Lines mapping laughter and loss. Crisis crested innocuous. A cabin weekend. October blaze crackling. Mia at college orientation. Leo tinkering garage. Jonathan chopped wood. Flannel rolled. But mid-swing. Axe slipped. Gash blooming red on shin. Clumsy. He laughed. But pallor ghosted. Steps faltering to the truck. ER lights harsh as memory. Fracture clean. But scans flagged anomaly. Heart murmur. Irregular. Monitor closely. Homebound, he chafed. Cabin fever's worse than chemo. I cooked his favorites. Philly cheesesteaks from scratch, provolone oozing. While he paced, phone glued to crisis lines for old hail contacts. Can't idle, he'd mutter. Rust sets in. Rust builds character, I countered, pulling him to the porch swing. Adirondacks autumn ablaze. Remember Yale? You king of motion. Burned out till I reeled you in. His hand found mine, calluses rough from axes and keyboards. Reeled? More like lassoed. Gaze distant, Hudson Valley mist rising. What if this is it? The slow fade. Then we fade fierce. Kiss to temple, salt of sweat and worry. No rivals left but time. Monitoring morphed mandatory. Cardiologist in Albany, beta blockers rattling pillbox. He adapted Google Zoom from the den, virtual pitches laced wry humor. Perk of near retirement. No suit, just authenticity. Laughter masked the limp, the naps stolen midday. I wrote through it, memoir brewing, from rival to reckoning, weaving our tapestry. High school sparks to husband vows, crash to crossroads. Agent buzzed excited. Raw gold, Christian. The queer American epic. Drafts poured, cabin floorboards creaking under stacks. Jonathan redlining margins with that familiar scrawl. Too sentimental here. Cut the bridge metaphor. But underlined soft. This. Eternal. Winter solstice, snow blanketing pines, we drove to Manhattan. Met Gala Redux. Silver anniversary twist. Tuxes tailored loose for comfort. Red carpet, a nostalgia trip. Flashes popping. Reporters cooing. Still the couple that slays? Jonathan's arm linked mine. Steady despite the cane disguised as swagger stick. Inside, chandeliers wept light. Gowns swirling like dreams. Speech slot. His, on Legacy's long game. Drew nods. Innovation isn't code. It's courage. Loving loud in a world that whispers shut. Applause thundered. Backstage he sagged against marble pillar, breath shallow. Nailed it. Valedictorian level. I steadied him, thumb tracing pulse erratic. Home after. Waltz floor called, strings swelling Gershwin. We swayed slow, his head on my shoulder, world fading to our orbit. Love you, murmured into collar. Always have. Words from 12 years back. Bar stool pivot. But fate's a sly editor, excising without warning. Dawn post-gala, ambulance wail shattered penthouse hush, chest clutch mid-coffee, mug shattering tile. Just indigestion, he gasped, but eyes belied. Fear, stark as high school lockers. Hospital again, irony's bitter pill, bypass scheduled, valves mending like old vows. Waiting room vigil. Mia flew in, fierce hug. Leo paced, gadgets forgotten. He'll fight, the boy said, voice cracking. Like you taught. Surgery blurred 8 hours. Emergence, tube snaking, his hand limp in mine. Chris, croak first word. Monitors beeping steady. Don't. Gloat. About what? Saving your ass again. Tears betrayed. Saline sting. Recovery crawled. Rehab in the city. PT sessions grueling. His trash talk masking grunts. Spot me, Westbrook. Push harder. I did. Spotting the fire reignite, muscles knitting resolve. Spring bloomed tentative. Cabin return. Forsythia defiant yellow. Memoir proofs arrived. Red stamps approved. Launch plan modest. Upstate barn turned venue. Jonathan proofed final. Voice thick. Our story. Immortalized. Not end. I corrected. Chapter. Launch night. Hay bales seating. Lanterns swaying breeze. Crowd intimate. Fosters turned family. Agents. Old rivals turned friends. Readings alternated. Mine gritty opener. His addendum poetic. Rivalry wasn't war. It was prelude to this harmony. Q&A flowed. On love's longevity, hate's hauntings. One kid, notebook clutched, asked, how'd you know it was real? Jonathan fielded, eyes on me. When the fight's worth every bruise, and the peace, worth worlds. Afterglow, drive home star-strewn, his hand on gear shift. Proud Chris, of us. Mutual. Cabin loomed welcoming, hearth laid ready. Years telescoped. Mia's wedding in the Poconos, Leo's MIT acceptance. Us in folding chairs, canes matching. Grandkids toddled, wild curls, inquiring eyes. Christened with stories by the fire. Your grandpa's, rivals once. Ache crept insidious. My lungs first, smoker's rasp from phantom cigs never lit. Then his joints, arthritis gnawing mobility. Docs tag-teamed. Oxygen tanks discreet, pain meds rationed. Quality over quantity. They preached. We nodded, plotting escapes. Wheelchair hikes. Audiobooks droning classics. Final summer, hospice whispers loomed, but we bucked. Road trip redux, RV rumbling Route 66. Dust devils dancing horizons. Stops at diners with pie a la mode. Motels with flickering vacancy. Echoes of youth, but seasoned sweet. One Mojave dusk, campfire crackling, stars indifferent vast. He leaned into me, blanket shared. Regrets, none worth naming. Pause, firefly flicker. You, only not sooner. Hand over heart, rhythm faltering but firm. Woke to you every day. Best accident. Dawn next, he slipped quiet, breath ceasing as sun crested. Sagebrush gilded. I held him, no dramatics, just presence till paramedics came gentle. Funeral small. Cabin clearing, ashes scattered bridgeside, rain pattering benediction. Eulogy mine, voice steady. He was rival, husband, anchor. Flew free, but left wings. Grief's a river, carving canyons. I navigated solo, memoir sales funding the foundation. Hail Westbrook, queer lit eternal. Mia and Leo anchored, grandkids laughter bomb. Years later, bridge plaque doubled, his name beside Mom's. Jonathan Hale, builder of bridges. I visit quarterly, hand on stone, river rushing below. No tragedy stark, but humanistic close. Love endures, not in perfection, but persistence. Rivals to the end, we won.